try and get as much mileage in as possible, because you can work out where it's safe to lap cars and of different speeds. Of course, closing speeds depend on the class of car that you're lapping in the SP9. It's not as important, I suppose you could argue, in a dry race, because then you need to, if it's wet, then you need to know where the rainwater tends to accumulate, where you get standing water, and the bits of the track you definitely need to avoid when it's raining. That takes one of the variables out of it, I suppose, because the forecast looks very good for the next 2 days. However, there is definitely, in this ribbon of asphalt, there is definitely one racing line along certain sections. But if you catch a Renault Clio, you have very little option but to head offline, and you really do need to know which bits of the asphalt you can lean on and which bits you absolutely have to avoid.
It's the 47th running of the ADAC, 24 hours here at the Nürburgring, and on the Nordschleife cars heading out onto the Grand Prix circuit, and the first couple have just gone through the Dunlop curve at the bottom of the hill, heading up towards the Schumacher S, and then they'll be out onto the Nürburgring Nordschleife for the first time this morning. The Glickenhaus right at the sharp end of the field, also the number 36 Aston Martin. Saw a couple of questions on Twitter overnight using the hashtag N24RSL about Darren Turner, who was originally named in both of the cars, but with Chris Harris not being here, Chris is tied up with his Top Gear filming duties. Well, Darren then concentrating on the 35 car. Is that right, Paul? DT?
Yes.
Yes. He was named... No, the other way around, is it?
Hold on.
Chris Harris was in the...
Yes, Darren Turner's in 36 with right. Chris Goodwin and Christian Gebhardt.
Yeah.
I think that's the reason I couldn't have Chris Harris, because it would have been Chris Goodwin, Christian Gebhardt and Chris Harris. And
right.
It would have been far too confusing with 3 Chris's in the car.
Yeah.
Darren just...
We could have put our Chris's crossed, couldn't we?
Darren would have been saying, who's getting in the car next? And it would have all of been Chris. So it's the 36 car that Darren Turner is in, the 37 car, which is the Jamie Chadwick, Alex Brundle, Peter Kate car.
Yeah. Thank you to Peter Cate for the Tregothnan T, which will be getting pushed into service in the wee small hours.
Just going back to the Aston Martins, John, a good qualifying session for them, ending up in 2nd and 3rd places after qualifying yesterday. Surprisingly, perhaps, with the Alex Brundle, Peter Cate, Jamie Chadwick car quicker than... and 2nd and 3rd as far as SP8T cars are concerned. Although they are GT4 Aston Martins, they run as SP8Ts.
Darren was just taking it easy. He turned it down yesterday, I think.
Yeah, apart from anything else, because Darren is a platinum graded driver, they're not allowed to run in the SP10 class, but the fact that they're therefore put into SP8T also allows them to therefore run more power.
Correct, they can turn it up.
So it's a GT4 looking car, but it performs somewhat better than a GT4 car.
Just ask David King, when he comes up, the president of Aston Martin Racing, what they do for that. Is that just an electronic thing? Is it a remap, or is it a different restrictor? Or do they just turn the turbo boost up on that twin turbo V8 now?
Look, I'm sure David will give you a full and perfectly comprehensive answer.
I'm looking for... I haven't seen Mr. King yet this weekend, which is unusual. Beautiful weather, sunshine, a little bit of wind blowing in across the circuit, but nowhere near as blowy as it was yesterday. Quite chilly this morning when we came out of our accommodation and headed over the outstanding back roads to the Nürburgring Nordschleife, including a new route in for us as they've dug up one of the roads near us that we've got about a 7 or 8 kilometre detour, which is like something from a WRC tarmac rally stage.
Most impressive. And actually, I think we've found a different route home every single day, which is fabulous.
Driving, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. You're not going to get lost this time, are you, Joe? No, I can remember the way.
It's just when Joe says, no, it's all right, I know this road, and you think, we haven't been this way home
ever
all this week.
Look, there's a lake over there. I don't remember the lake, because we've never been on this road before, that's fine.
No. Joe gets lost going from the bedroom to the bathroom. Why you place your faith in him, I'm not sure. So we have kicked off an hour-long session. We're down to 55 minutes already. Don't expect blisteringly quick times. What we're looking for here is a little bit of a steer on what race pace might be, and also hoping that nobody has any nasty incidents. Nick Tandy is first out in the number 911 911. Quite a lot of the drivers, Johnny, this week have done very little work at all, and that's been a story, a similar story from a number of the big name drivers who know this place. You have to do 2 laps before you get into the race, but some of them had only done 2 laps up until yesterday, particularly if they had drivers who didn't have quite as much experience around the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Yeah, you could be in a situation where, you know, the first driver in has just done 2 laps. I'm sure they've planned it a little better than that, and therefore given starting drivers just a bit more time.
2 laps is all you need to learn this place, though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Just to remind yourself.
It's only 170 corners.
But the hard bit is actually getting to the point where your entry is accepted. You know, you have to do so many more laps to actually get the Nordschleife permit here. Than any other race meeting, probably. So the fact that you only have to do 2 laps to qualify for the race in the qualifying sessions isn't really what it's about. What you do in order to qualify is to do all of the work that you were describing a few moments ago, John, to get the Nordschleife permit.
Actually, I've been talking to a few people about Nordschleife permits recently. Apparently, you don't have to do very much at all to get your C permit, which gets you into that 3-hour race yesterday, which I noticed Olaf Manthey was out in it. I think it's the only time he drives in the year, and he was out in a BMW 635, I think it was. Big smile on Olaf's face. That's a race on my bucket list. Absolutely want to do that. Peter Dumbrek out in the number 33. That is the Falcon Motorsports BMW. The 44 is the other Falcon car, but that's a Porsche, of course. Don't get confused with that, as we will in the early hours of the morning. Oh, it's the Falcon car. It must be the 44. No, it's 30. I can't tell.
No, but they obviously are running Falcon tyres, so better from a branding point of view to say the Falcon tyre is good on a Porsche and a BMW.
Well, that's a good point.
So there's one of each in that team. The BMW didn't make top qualifying last night, so it has not run since the end of qualifying 2, which was about 5 o'clock yesterday. So again, this is a chance for the team and Peter Dumbrek and others to blow the cobwebs away a little bit. I'm sure he wasn't in the forest last night on the Vorsteiner, although the option was there for the 33 guys. But I'm sure it was an early night in readiness for a very, very, very late night tonight. But the 44 Porsche did get qualified. Klaus Bachler from memory. The sheet's right in front of me. It was Klaus. And that was the last car, in fact, to be released from the start-finish line of the 28 that took part in top qualifying on Friday night. Very close to the Armco barrier for Dumbrek as he crosses the bridge and heads onto the hats and back once again. So number 33 BMW starting a flying lap now, so hasn't actually posted a time.
I don't think anybody's actually posted a time yet, Johnny.
No, you're right. It's far too early for that, isn't it?
The first one who is likely to, according to what I'm trying to track sector times, is going to be the 911 Porsche, the yellowy, more yellow of the Grello cars, the one that Lawrence Van Tour was driving last night for qualifying, and the one which is going to be starting on the second row of the grid, the 911 car. The number 1 champion Manthey car, only starting on the 4th row of the grid.
Morning, Sarah Rigby up in Crewe. Just 20 past 8 in the morning, already putting the washing out, she says. Thanks for mentioning my query, DT, not driving both of the Aston Martin Racing GT forecasts. Thanks again to David King, Andy Palmer and the rest of Aston Martin Racing for looking after us this weekend. We started in 2007, exactly where we are now. We're back to our original spot. Race day was the 9th and 10th of June in 2007, and we're back in the Rhineland TUV Tower and the Aston Martin Lounge. Long association with this event with Aston Martin Racing, and our thanks to them. And welcome to our RSL family to Hyundai. The performance of Hyundai N, Feel the Feeling. They are supporting our hourly updates during the race. And the mighty Hyundai Santa Fe has brought Nick, Johnny and Paul down here from Le Mans, and in fact brought Joe all the way down from Sunderland to Le Mans, part of our Mobile One Radio Le Mans fleet. And if you're here at the circuit, you'll see it, it's dark red and it still has its Le Mans livery on it, so give them a wave. They'll not wave back at you because Joe will be too busy trying to find out where he's going.
And you won't see me because it's got privacy glass, which is very nice.
Paul will be sitting in the back crunching numbers.
Kevin Estre at the wheel of the 911 Porsche, and it was the first car to set a flying lap. Kevin Estre doing an 8:27.448, although he was very quickly eclipsed, or his time was very quickly eclipsed, by the 14 car collection Audi, which currently has Marcel Fessler behind the wheel, and that's done an 8:27.220. The number 14 car collection car. Johnny was mentioning about the Falcon Tyres car not making the cut into top qualifying last night, nor did the number 14. So
it's a bit of a shock, that, wasn't it?
Marcel Fest. Well, it would have done, I think, had it not had a problem in second qualifying.
Yeah.
When it was, because it was second fastest after first qualifying, but then was unable to improve in second qualifying because it ground to a halt on the opening lap of second qualifying. So that's why it didn't make the top qualifying cut. But Marcel Fessler clearly pushing on in the opening stages of this warm-up just to prove that the car feels comfortable.
Number 911 coming back towards us, television telling us it's Nick Tandy, timing and scoring telling us it's Kevin Estre. So take your pick from those two talented Porsche Works drivers.
No, Tandy's in the number 1 car.
Oh, yeah,
just
sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm still getting used to that, but it carries the number 1 because they won last year.
Yeah.
It's normally the 912 car. So 911, 912.
So here is Tandy across the line, 5th fastest at 8:30.2.
Kevin Estre returning to the pit lane via the Grand Prix entrance to the pit lane, which is still the only way into the pits. Until we get into race mode, the only way into the pits is through the back entrance to the pit lane from the Grand Prix circuit. You can't get into the pit lane on coming from the Dottinger Hoa, but you will be able to as soon as the race starts.
Can't wait to see the new version of the Porsche. Well, in fact, as I say that, that's sort of got a hybrid rear end on the 911 because it's got the strip right across the back of that car. It's still definitely a 991, but there's a 992, of course, out now. The, what is that, the 8th version of Porsche's 911, Type 911 design. Or 911 design, should I say. Project number that was. The type is 992. There was a bit of secret testing going on just before Le Mans of the RSR version of that, the GT Le Mans car. Caught Autosport involved in that at Monza. Bit of back-to-back testing with the current version of that car. We're expecting to see that car debut in the FIA World Endurance Championship at Silverstone, and therefore it will be on track at Barcelona for the WEC prologue in, well, that's half an hour from now, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
When is that, Johnny? It's only a couple of weeks' time, isn't it?
Well, it's been switched to avoid a potential clash with Spa 24, as in it's been pushed back a day.
Yeah, it's been pulled forward through the week,
so
hasn't it? Yeah.
It's now going to be Tuesday the 23rd and Wednesday the 24th of July.
So literally a month away is when the WEC season starts again.
Yeah, yes.
And that's
calendar month, yeah.
And that's when you'll see the new 992 RSR is what I've been told. I've been told it is still a normally aspirated 4 litre. Of course, that could change between now and then.
changing the subject from Porsche to BMW, Peter Dunbrek on the Dottinger Hohe at the moment in the number 3 Falcon tired BMW, but keep an eye out, still out on the circuit, not yet getting onto the Dottinger Hohe, for the Schnitzer BMW. Sheldon van der Linde is at the wheel of that, and has gone very quickly in the first part of the circuit.
He's just crossed the line, and an 8:27.017 for van der Linde.
Which is quickest in the session so far.
Correct.
Oh, well, there we go then. Got that one right.
By a couple of tenths from Marcel Fesler, then Kevin Estre. So BMW, Audi, Porsche, Mercedes, your top 4. Are you seeing a pattern there, Mr. Palmer?
No.
Not really, no, because the best BMW yesterday was 13th in 2-lap qualifying. So I still think the BMW is going to be strong on heavy and medium fuel loads, but can't necessarily match the pace of Porsche and Mercedes on single lap dashes. Well, I mean, that could be crucial when you get to the end of the race, when it's the sprint to the line in the final stint. But of course, BMW could well have built up a decent enough lead by that point. But it's BMW, Audi, Porsche, Mercedes, all of the 4 big German manufacturers, therefore, represented so far, with still 43 and a bit minutes to go.
Wing change on the Manthey Racing number 911-911. Looked like they were rolling wing off that car. So he rejoins in behind one of the lower class Caymans, which I think was the 132. Was it? If it's the 132, it's a Carrera, not a Cayman. Silver car with the yellow stripe on it.
That looks like a Black Falcon livery.
It does. Which would make it the V6 class 132, I think. Christoph Hoffmann, Karsten Paluth, Tobias Wahl and Robert Woodside.
So 911 reaching the Dunlop hairpin at the bottom of the hill on the Grand Prix track. The Glickenhaus is out bright and early as well.
Yeah, that was one of the first cars out of the pits, just looking for a little bit of space there. It's Thomas Much at the wheel of that car. Have we worked out why on the side, certainly of the 911, I haven't looked at the number 1 car, but the number 911, 911, let's call it, as the number, why it's got arrows pointing at the window of the car, and this could be you?
It's promoting the Porsche experience.
Ah.
What they haven't done is to think what might happen if the car should come a cropper somewhere around the circuit, and somebody will then take a photograph of the car stuck on the gravel or stuck in a wall with "this could be you" against it. But
I thought the 3 arrows were to let everybody know which way up it was meant to be.
Well, that's what Johnny thought when he first saw the car, to be fair, didn't you, Johnny?
I did.
Great minds, JP.
Yeah, well, I'm used to being on the side of a cardboard box, frankly.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And that Porsche looks a lot better than a cardboard box, but it did remind me of that.
But they're not going to let you drive a GT3 car, are they?
No, but as I say, the idea is to promote the Porsche driver experience, the top rung of which is a GT3 car.
Wow. I know that Aston Martin, and David King and I were talking about this a wee while ago, you could come to the Aston Martin experience here at the Nürburgring, which is down on Gottlieb Daimlerstrasse, which is where all the major manufacturers are. They have their test and development centres there. I noticed a nice new bright and shiny Hyundai one as well when we drove past the other day to get our creds. When was that? Wednesday. It seems an age. But you can go from literally doing a few assisted tourist laps all the way up to getting your ring permit with Aston Martin, and in fact doing a race.
I haven't yet seen the car that's going to start the race from pole position, the number 2 Black Falcon Mercedes.
Surely they've done enough by now, haven't they?
Well, I suspect that's probably the answer. During qualifying, the car wasn't allowed out at the beginning of the session, amongst everybody else who was already qualified for top qualifying. But this time they are allowed out, but the combination of Maro Engel, who set the qualifying time in top qualifying yesterday evening, Manuel Metzger, Dirk Müller and Adam Christodoulou having a lie-in this morning. They probably, somebody at Black Falcon, Jean-Paul Beslin in charge of the team, has said, that's okay, you guys have a lie-in, done a good job last night, don't need to do the warm-up. but we've seen the number 3 Black Falcon Mercedes out, so it's not a Black Falcon thing. The number 3 Mercedes currently 5th in this warm-up session.
It wasn't a team lie-in.
It wasn't a team lie-in. No. It's only a car 2 lie-in.
Right, okay.
As maybe a reward, as I say, for getting pole position. The other Black Falcon Mercedes in the GT3 class, or SP9 class, is the number 6 car, and that hasn't been out either. So only the number 3 from the Black Falcon team having been out. I stress SP9 because there are also Black Falcon cars running in SP8T, and in SP7, I think it is, where Black Falcon have cars. Yes, the SP7 Porsche GT3 Cup car. So Black Falcon with a full garage of cars, although not quite as full as Pixum Team Adrenaline Motorsport, who I think have 9 cars.
Yeah, 9. 21 different classes here. Just checking 1 or 2 of them. Hyundai Team Engsler in 19th position with that very, very good-looking Hyundai i30 Fastback N. And the road cars outside as well, which we've been looking at. That's Franz and Luca Engsler, father and son there. Guido Naumann, who qualified the car from memory. And Bung Hee Kang, Korean driver. There is there not, Johnny, a Veloster TCR car and a standard i30N, a hatchback i30N rather than the fastback?
Yes.
Yeah, 170 is the i30N.
Which is a TCR car. That's the Peter Terting car, isn't it?
And 171 is the Veloster.
Oh, right, yes, I should have looked further down. That's Mark. It's got Mark Bassing and Nico Verdonk in there. That's, I mean, those TCR cars around here are rapid.
And the other 2 drivers, Manuel Lauk, who's very quick, and Moritz Österreich, who I believe is the son of Marcus Österreich.
Oh, really?
Who you'll possibly remember from touring car racing in the 1980s.
He did a bit of lorry racing as well, didn't he?
Don't Trucks. Know. Haven't kept my thumb on the pulse of lorry driving.
Paul, really, I'm disappointed. Disappointed.
We
have one of the Toyota CHRs left. They had to cannibalise the one that was somewhat broken earlier on. They're broken.
That's the 120 car.
The 120 is the car that remains.
Yeah, I was slightly concerned because yesterday that was on the back of a covered trailer with one of the sides still open, but the team were loading that car rather than taking it off and back into the garage. But it's my understanding that it went to a base nearby that Gazoo Racing have. Now that's either on the Dottinger Höhe or, you know, sort of 10-15 minutes drive from here.
No, it's in the same run as where the Aston Martin experience is. It's right along the far end.
Yeah. So a rather battered and bruised 119 car after it was involved in a crash on Thursday night.
Suttipong Smittercharge was behind the wheel at the time?
No.
Was it Natapong or Horticum?
No, it was Manat.
Manat Kula Palatino.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Natafuda Charan Suka Watana, did he actually get in the car?
I don't know that, John. I don't know that. But I know that Manat was at the wheel of the 119, and the 120 carries the 119 gearbox now.
What, just in the boot?
Yeah,
just in case?
Exactly right. No, they've been able to... Obviously... There wasn't something quite right with the 120 car, and said, where can we get a Toyota Gazoo, Toyota CHR gearbox from? Man, get involved.
No, he didn't. No. We just happen to know where. It's Grant Superhongs, who's Superhongs behind the wheel of the 120 that he shares with a couple of other Thai drivers, Arthit Runsumboom, Chen Jiang Hong, and the Japanese driver, Naoki Kawamura. I think they enter that just to test us every year, those 2 cars. And if you're not sure, the Toyota CHR is sort of a little crossover style car, sort of a Nissan Juke sized Honda, small Honda or Suzuki type sized 4-door, 5-door crossover SUV, mini SUV thing. Not the most likely looking of racing cars, but actually, by the time Toyota Gazoo Racing have done their job on it and put the body kit on it and slammed it down a wee bit, it actually doesn't look that much different from a slightly stretched Honda Civic.
Yeah, well, it's got the same rear lights almost as a Civic. They call it a subcompact crossover SUV, the C-HR.
And it's probably worth noting the car which was involved in the accident, which sadly led to the withdrawal of the 119 Gazoo Racing Team Thailand Toyota, also led to the withdrawal of the number 59 CP Racing Porsche out of the SP7 class. Xavier Masson, having been brought into that team, was at the wheel, and the car sustaining some fairly heavy damage at the front end, and that car, great disappointment to the team. Charles Putman, Charles Espenlaub and Joe Foster.
Oh yes, good point.
They having to withdraw from the race after they'd gone to a great deal of effort over the course of this year to get themselves qualified for the race by participating in the various VLN races to get in.
Now, Toyotas in the past, if I think about MR2, MR stood for midship runabout. So does C-HR stand for something as well, John?
There seems to be an argument about exactly what it stands for, but one possibility is compact high rider CHR, but there are other.
I thought the MR2 was a mid-engine roadster.
Midship runabout, yeah.
There again, you see, split of opinion.
Yeah.
Answers on a postcard, answers on a tweet,
I think
RSL_studio.
It all depends which week you read Wikipedia as to which version of the truth you get.
New
fastest lap from the 911.
Just gone.
Sorry,
yeah,
John.
Yeah, no, exactly. Both watching the times change at the same time. Thomas Jäger just bumped down to 5th position, and that's because there's a new fastest time. So it's now Porsche, Audi, BMW. John Edwards in the 99 BMW in 3rd. Then the 55 Ferrari, that was the car that's improved then. Simon Trummer in the 55 Ferrari up to 4th position and then has pitted. Jäger down to 5th, although he did improve his time last time around. He's down to a 25.6. But fastest of all, Kevin Estre this morning in the number 911, which comes straight back. No, it's not. That's number... Which of the... Now I'm very confused.
The yellow one is 911.
Yes, but I've just seen it in the... Oh, right, OK. We haven't got live pictures at the moment. Neither of them showing in the pits because, in fact, neither of them are in the pits. They weren't live pictures. Toyota Gazoo Racing into the pit lane with that compact, high-sided vehicle. What was that?
Compact high rider.
High rider.
Yes. With a crossover.
Crossover high rider. Okay.
Whatever you feel like.
8:22.4 was Kevin Estre's time. The Frenchman obviously had his coffee this morning, doing good work.
Just looking at that time and looking at what kind of times we can expect in the race, my simulation is that we can get lap times of 8 minutes 30, average lap times across an 8-lap stint of 8 minutes 30. And provided those can be maintained throughout the race, we can get to 160 laps, which will be good enough for a race record, the existing race record being 159 laps, which was set in 2014. And as Johnny said a little while ago, a calm weather forecast ahead for the next 24 hours, 36 hours suggested as being an area of high pressure, meaning that it's going to be reasonably dry, or completely dry, no chance of rain, my forecast said. So if we get dry weather, the only other thing that's going to stop us getting a record distance is going to be how many times we have to rebuild the circuit and how many slow zones we have to put into force. But if we can keep the slow zones to a minimum, so keep the average lap times at about 3 minutes 30, then we
3 minutes 30?
I said 8 minutes. I meant 8 minutes 30.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
I know.
8 minutes 30. Sorry, you switch, as Joe is fond of saying, you have to recalibrate. So 8 minutes 30 is an average lap time that will get us to a record distance.
I'm just replacing Trustwell's chip as we speak.
Thank you very much.
That's all right. Get the new RAM card in.
Good to see Fabian Schiller out on track. This is the car that hit problems in the session last night with was that a puncture for the German driver?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So Now, as a result of a Ferrari not taking part in the session at all, Fabian Schiller actually going to start 27th, and then the Ferrari, the Daniel Kylwitz number 11 Wochenspiegel Team Monschau Ferrari will start 28th. So it's not as bad as it might have been for the Get Speed Performance Mercedes.
Pro Sport number 68, Aston Martin. That's the more white with a red accent. That's the white background car. That's like the away strip.
That's right.
Because the other one is red with a bit of white and black on. I like both of those cars. Red, white and black always appeals to me. The 68 then is the away strip. I'll remember that now. So that must mean that the 18 car is the red one.
Oh no, that's 76.
Sorry, 76. I'm looking at Get Speed for some unknown reason. That was because it's just crossed the line, I suppose. Yeah, 76 is the other one. That's the one with Kai van Berlo,
yes.
Alex Mees, Mike David Ortman, and Christoph Breuer.
Breuer last to drive it, although they're both... No, sorry, one car's in the pit lane, the 76, and the 68 has just completed a fast lap. We've got the cones back out again during this session, so the option is not there to dive into the pits.
Correct.
Right at the end of the lap, you have to, again, do a Grand Prix Strecker lap before you then can sneak into the back of the pits via the Grand Prix pit lane entry road.
Dr. Daniel, I hope you were listening a few moments ago. He said, could you please just run through those Thai drivers' names again? And for my girlfriend's benefit, she didn't hear them yesterday. So we did both of the cars a few moments ago, even the one that's retired. Lucas Ordonez out in the BMW number 101. That's the blue BMW M6. Very fetching it looks too in that shade as it heads down through the morning sunshine through Flansgarden towards the end of the lap now. Lucas Ordonez, GT Academy winner back in the day, and that car carrying Gran Turismo livery. So a certain bit of tie up there with that driver in that car. Who's going quickly at the moment? Marcel Fessler putting in some personal bests. Lucas Ordonez actually looking to improve from 11th position at the moment, and probably going to move up to somewhere near the top 6 with this time. So for a second up on his time, but a couple of seconds down. If he doesn't drop any more time, he's going to be actually somewhere in the top 4 or 5 if he can keep going at this pace, up towards Tiergarten. Smooth in terms of the ultimate surface of the road, but it's still undulating, the tarmac there. You do see the cars riding the waves, if you will. Here comes Ordonez off to our right. See the headlights disappear behind the corner of the building. Crosses the line. Does he improve? He does, but only to 7th. Didn't quite get as far up as I thought he might. Meantime, Kevin Estra is on another good lap. And just a moment or two ago, going very wide indeed as he heads over the top of the rise just before Brünchen. Yeah, lost the car in the left-hander before diving down the hill to Brünchen. Put the left-hand rear tyre in particular, I was going to say on the grass, but it's dirt there.
Yeah. Right
over the top of the block paving.
I think that's that tricky left after what some people call YouTube corner, which is Brünchen 2. Very easy to overcook things.
That was into Brünchen.
Well, very easy to overcook things out to the gravel trap on the left, and then the next corner's tricky. You can, I mean, on the simulator behind us, I often just straight line the next bit, and you go over the grass and lose very little time. That's basically what Kevin Estra just tried to do.
That explains a lot, doesn't it?
That's the only way that you can get below 9 minutes on that game.
It's not true.
I think it is.
It's not.
I never saw your lap. The replay that I watched the following day had about 3 spins in it, so that's not the one.
8:53.6.
I know. I think it's 8:51.5 now. Someone's done an 8:51.
Not in the GT4. Really?
Look at his face.
Not in the GT4. Telling you. Here comes Estra. See what the Johnny Palmer line has done for his time. He's fastest.
See? See? You've got
Right,
to know
that's
the
it, I'm
secret.
out of here.
You've got to know the secret ways around here. Estra goes 3 seconds quicker than everybody else at 8:20.7. No point in even continuing, frankly. Indeed. So I'm just still trying to work out the right-hander, Brunchen, and it's the left-hander, which doesn't actually have a name, but the run down to Flansgarten. We've now got a KTM, though, stopped on the track, and a brief glimpse of where it was on the circuit. I was trying to work out whether it was facing the right way or not. I think it may have looped, in actual fact. Peter Dumbrecht got through, but was there actually some contact between the BMW and the KTM? No, I don't think so.
No, I think it was the KTM.
There was contact.
Oh, there was contact. Sorry, yes. I had thought it hadn't, but being overtaken by Peter Dumbrecht, and as you say, just nerfing the crossbow into a spin. Was that not at Brunchen?
I think it was, with the big campsite on the left. So that was the run down the hill out of Wipperman, I think, and approaching Brunchen itself. So that is the number 60 KTM with Brod Merkel at the wheel. And I don't think that car will be too badly damaged. Unfortunately, though, it caught one of the Armco barrier overlaps, and had that not been there, would have kept it out of the barrier, Stefan Brod Merkel.
Morning, Johnny. Morning,
Hello,
Paul.
Joe.
Hello. Your mention of an 851 on the simulator has gotten rid of Hindhoff.
If only I knew it was that easy.
That crossbow did nerf the barrier enough, I think, to perhaps knock its geometry out. It didn't look like it had any bodywork damage, but it did make contact, slightest contact. So
yeah.
That car will need to go back in the garage. It's been recovered behind a barrier, so it's not causing any problems, and it's not going to bring any kind of slow zones. And what we have at the Nürburgring, let's just remind ourselves that we have various access points around the 13 miles of the Nordschleife where we're able to get recovery trucks in and retrieve cars using the public roads, come out the side of the confines of the actual circuit, and then recover cars back to the paddock. In fact, it's back on the track.
That's good.
It's back on the track. It's making its own way around. So that will give Stefan Brod Merkel an idea of just what is wrong with the car after that little hit.
But a typical example of the dangers, the vagaries of racing at the Nürburgring. You can be tootling along flat out in your own car. A GT3 car comes barreling past you, only needs to slightly misjudge the situation. Either one of you only needs to slightly misjudge the situation, and you can go through a spin. In a race situation, it could cost you the race.
Absolutely, Paul. The track here is so narrow. It's so narrow. We've got a massive difference in speeds from the slower classes to the GT3 classes. That's one of the reasons why I have no inkling or no desire to actually want to do this race. And normally I go anywhere and I think, well, I could do that. I would like to do that.
Yeah.
Here,
The margins are so slender, aren't
Massive,
they?
massive.
You have to be on the limit, and yet if you are on the limit and the slightest thing goes wrong, then you're either going to be at best having a spin, at worst, because the barriers are reasonably close most of the places around, you're going to be in the barrier.
And that's another thing. It doesn't take prisoners, does it? You can't have an off without contacting the barrier here.
No, I mean either you hit. I mean the curbs are big, the barriers are close. Where there is grass, it's slippery, so it does sort the men from the boys. But over 24 hours, and this is why it is such a great challenge. You know, the concentration levels required so high. You do the slightest thing, and you can make life very difficult for the whole team.
Fabian Schiller was held up a little bit by the rejoining KTM of Stefan Brod Merkel, by the way, although the 911 car, is that an even better time again? No, that was the 767, wasn't it? That was set a little while ago by a rally crossing, Kevin Est.
And the car now in the hands of Michael Christiansen, just leaving the pit lane.
But Schiller was on for a good lap before he caught that rejoining KTM. Still second fastest is the Rooster Rojo Mercedes from Get Speed. And again, almost taking the extra line. This time a Ferrari, Oliver Kainz in the number 11 car, which is the car that didn't feature in top qualifying last night, even though it had reserved a place in that session. So good to see this number 11 car running again.
So Kevin S taking the Palmer line. He's claimed the namesake of that corner.
Yes.
By running out. Johnny, did you mention the Conrad Lamborghini, number 7?
I haven't done yet,
no,
right, but
yeah,
so
that
go ahead.
car I noticed was in the pits and hasn't come out on track yet, and it looked like there were lots of attention going on the rear right of that corner, looking a very concerned looking Franz Conrad overseeing that. Maybe a drive shaft, maybe a problem there, not bringing the car out for warm-up, so hopefully we'll see that car out.
Yeah,
I'll have a look on the tracker, in fact. And
yeah, one of the car hasn't been out at all.
Yeah, so number 7 still not out.
Nor has the number 2 pole position sitting Black Falcon Mercedes, and you have to think at this stage in the warm-up session, it's a 1-hour session, but we've only got 20 minutes of it now remaining, that if you're not out now, then you probably won't be coming out. Not necessarily, of course, but also out, a car that is out, talking about the ones that are out rather than the ones that aren't. And going reasonably quickly, we're talking about the Wochenspiegel Team Monschau Ferrari. Well, the number 55 Octane Ferrari, which went very quickly in the first free practice session on Wednesday. Octane now with Alex Prince behind the wheel of the 55 car, the dark blue coloured car. And that car has set 6th fastest time in this warm-up session. And suddenly it's put up to 5th fastest time. I don't quite understand why, but oh no, that's because I'm misreading. Down to 8th fastest, that's right. So down to 8th fastest for Alex Prince in the Ferrari, because now Ollie Kainz is the fastest Ferrari, that number 11 Wochenspiegel, as you were describing the fast lap from the Wochenspiegel Team Monschau Ferrari. That has gone up to 6th fastest. And
yeah, Kaffer up to 2nd fastest now to split the Porsche and Mercedes of Michael Christensen and Fabian Schiller. So Kaffer in the number 4 Team Phoenix Audi R8. That's the Phoenix car that's on the Michelin tyres, because the sister machine, number 5, running Dunlops. And we think the only SP9 car that is on the Dunlop tyre. We've got Yokohama, Dunlop, Falcon, Michelin. I think just those 4 tyre manufacturers represented in SP9. Although thinking about it, the SP9 last generation BMW Z4 is on Pirelli tyres. So we could, if we can squeeze the rules a little bit, stretch it to 5 different tyre manufacturers in the SP9 category. Kevin Estre went over the curb and into the dirt, yes, on the exit of Brunchen 2, and this is the run down now into Flansgarten for Martin Ragginger, who did not take part in qualifying yesterday. Klaus Bachler was at the wheel of the 44 two-tone blue Falcon Porsche, but the 44 currently 14th in warm-up, although, as we know, not everybody in the GT3 category, the SP9 category, has taken part in this session, which still has 16.5 minutes to run.
Have we opened up a discussion as to who we think our favourites are for? I mean, I know it's impossible to have a favourite or a pundit who's going to win a 24-hour race.
Yeah, he'll get a good result.
Yes.
Marking 25 years at the Nürburgring 24 hours.
I'd still like to think the my Frickadelli Porsche is in with a chance. My heart, just purely, I saw the driver lineup in that car, and it's qualified 5th. Roman Dumas, Matt Campbell, Sven Muller and Mathieu Jaminet. It's got an outstanding lineup, but then I can't have that's my heart. That's my heart's choice. My head's saying the BMWs are going to come back during this race. They're all right. They didn't have it in the 2-lap qualifying, but I think over the course of a race, I think we're going to see the BMWs just coming through and maybe being really, really strong.
I mean, the beauty of this race, and this is why I enjoy watching car racing, is you don't know who's going to win. You know, if you knew who was going to win, then you wouldn't you wouldn't come along, you wouldn't be excited by it. If you knew the story had been scripted, you knew the hero was going to win, then you know, it wouldn't be as exciting as it actually is. And things will happen in the race that we don't expect. You will get hindered by the implementation of the slow zones, the code 60 zones. You might get an advantage from something else, but that's the beauty of it. Coming into this weekend, a lot of very wise people were saying that the BMWs did have an advantage, and that they kind of the balance of performance had just been slightly swung towards the BMW. Remember, the qualifying race was a 1-2-3 for BMW.
Yeah, that's right.
So you know, they came in with a lot of expectation, disappointed with qualifying, but between Porsche and Mercedes, I mean, it's very strong as well. But even picking BMW, which BMW do you pick?
Yeah,
do you pick the Schnitzer car, you know, the 42 car? Do you pick the Rover racing cars, the 98 and the 99? Or do you go for the dark horses, the Valkenhorst cars, 100 and 101? Because there's 5 BMWs there, all of which are equally strong.
And the 101 qualified 13th. That's the first BMW in the field qualifying 13th. We have to look way back to find our Rover Racing, any of the Rover Racing BMWs.
Yeah.
And then my head says, but what about the Manthey Porsches? Just look at their driver lineups. Look at how they're going. We've got one of them at the top of the timing screens with an 8:20. That's the 911 car. Well, you can't discount the number one.
Never ever discount Manthey Racing. I mean, the most successful team at the Nürburgring 24 is Manthey. 6 wins here. Although the most successful brand is BMW. So BMW have had 19 wins in the Nürburgring 24 hours. Manthey have had 6. But of course, the BMWs have had various different teams running them over the years.
I forgot to look at this the other day when I had that sheet in front of me. Have we had anyone do a back-to-back?
Manthey.
Manthey have done a back-to-back.
Yeah. Manthey have done more than, I think they've done a triple.
Have they?
The first,
have they really?
The first.
Was that going way back, or this?
No. In fact, the first time that I was here was in 2008, and Manthey completed a hat trick. So they won in 2006, 2007, 2008. And then they won again in 2009. So Manthey Racing won this race 4 times on the trot in 2006, 7, 8 and 9. And then it was BMW's turn in 2010. Manthey, you'll remember, won the race last year.
Yeah.
And BMW haven't actually won it since 2010.
Yeah. And the other thing interesting, looking back at the starting grids for the last 15 years, first time this year that we've not had a BMW in the top 10 on the starting grid, because they've always qualified, you know, sometimes front row, sometimes first 3 rows, but at the very best, at the very least, 10th position. This year, 13th. It's actually concerning for a BMW that looks so strong. But I just don't know whether that was the priority from that mark to do so well in qualifying. Yes, you grab the headlines overnight. I've got a copy of Wochenspiegel this morning with a Mercedes emblazoned on the front cover, but you know, BMW I think will only really care about having their pictures on Monday morning's newspapers.
And certainly, having watched the qualification race from afar, we weren't actually here for it, but having watched it from afar, it seemed that the BMW actually had a pace advantage. They didn't just win it through clever strategy, but certainly the 99 and also the 101, which was the race winner at the qualification race, just seemed to be a bit quicker than the Manthey Porsches, and it was a race won on pace.
Yep, we just mentioned there the Manthey team, cars 911 and car number 1. Well, the number 1 has gone to 2nd overall to join its sister car at the front of this field. The number 911 fastest in the morning warm-up with 8 minutes 20.7. And Nick Tandy it is in the number 1, who's just put in an 8:22.1. So he's still 1.3 off, but those Manthey Porsches, you cannot discount them ever at this place.
And Michael Christensen trying to go quicker than the extra time. getting reasonably close to it. 8:22.864. That car comes over the line now, but does not improve its time. However, it's still first position for warm-up. Also across the line is the Glickenhaus, the Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus 003C, and car 705 is not on the first page of timing. It's actually 42nd position with that lap that's just been done by Meyer.
12 minutes 33.
Yes.
On that last lap, so it wasn't an out lap, but lost a lot of time somewhere around the circuit.
Yes, because the car is capable of, bear in mind, this is the car that, or the Glickenhaus machine, capable of pole position 2 years ago. It's qualified in 19th position with an 8:16.992. So there was clearly a drama on that lap to be 12.5 minutes, unless there's a code 60 or similar out on track.
I misspoke. It was an out lap, in fact. So the first lap for the car was done by Thomas Mutsch. He did a complete lap of the Nordschleife and brought the car into the pits at the end of it. Frank Meyer has now done a complete lap of the Nordschleife, and we'll see whether or not he brings that car into the pits at the end of this lap as well. He's just gone through at the end of Sector 1. The bizarre thing is that you kind of set a complete lap and then you go through Sector 1 and then you pull into the pits because of the layout of the circuit. Sector 1 runs all the way from the start-finish line down to the Dunlop curve at the bottom of the hill, but it does mean that you get into Sector 2 before you get into the opportunity of coming into the pits.
Pierre Caffer, Thomas Jaeger, Fabian Schiller, all now in the pit lane for Audi, Mercedes, respectively. Markus Winkelhock still out there, though, in the number 14 car collection Audi R8. That car so far 6th fastest in warm-up, and also in the number 11 Ferrari. And you can understand why that driver, that Ferrari, is trying to get as much mileage in as possible. It is Alex Matschel who joins Jochen Kronbach, Oliver Kainz and Daniel Keilwitz in the number 11 car, but they're just trying to get in some lappery after they could not run in last night's top qualifying. And I don't know how much has actually had to be done to that Ferrari, but many of you I know reporting it returned on a flatbed partway through qualifying 2. So that could have been a fair bit of work overnight for the Wochenspiegel Team Monschau crew.
Good news, talking of flatbeds, Johnny, a car that we saw coming in from practice yesterday afternoon was the number 14, and it's the car collection Audi. It's currently in 6th place in the morning warm-up. Didn't take part in qualifying last night. It's done an 8:23.9, and we've got Markus Winkelhock at the wheel of the 14 currently. So good news that that car has been fixed, whatever it was. Didn't quite get to the bottom of exactly what brought the car to a stop and had to be recovered from out there on the circuit, but good to see that that car's in the race still, and I think that car starts 29th. Yes, 29th. So it missed out on the qualifying last night to get itself in the top 10. So it starts at the back of that field, but 29th. You can't discount anybody even starting from 29th, though, can
Certainly
you?
not, no. And the Falcon Motorsports BMW will start 31st. The Bando Racing with Novell Racing, number 19, Lexus, 32nd. And then the BMW Z4, which is the older, last generation SP9 car, number 50, from Speedline Racing to start 33rd. There's a very strong lineup in the other Fricadelli Racing team. Now, that's not technically a Pro-Am car as far as, well, one of my entry lists is concerned. Fricadelli historically have run a Pro-Am and a Pro car, but with Klaus Abelin in that team, no disrespect to Klaus, who is one of the major backers of Fricadelli Racing, but I thought that would make that car into a Pro-Am, which also has Alex Muller, Robert Renauer and Thomas Preining as part of the driving lineup. It might be that Alex Muller, Robert Renauer and Preining are too strong a trio for that car to actually fall into proper Pro-Am.
I need to do the sum, don't I?
Yes.
Have we explained to our listeners what the sum is?
I don't think we have, but with 5 3/4 minutes, there's certainly time to do that.
Only just. So the difference between Pro and Pro-Am, this is a kind of a subcategory within SP9. There's 2 subcategories, which is not to be confused with a different class, which is called SP Pro. But there is 2 subclassifications within SP9. There's SP9 Pro and SP9 Pro-Am. Now what you do is you give 1 point to a bronze driver, 2 points to a silver driver, 3 points to a gold, and 4 points to the if you're a platinum driver. You add together the number of points that your driver lineup is, take the average of the 3 or 4 drivers, and if you get to something that is greater than 2.4, you're a Pro car. If you're less than or equal to 2.4, it's a Pro-Am. So we just need to do the quick sum on that Fricadelli car, and then we can work out.
Have you got the gradings there or not?
Well, with the names that you've just read out, Johnny, and Paul's matrix.
Well, Preining is a silver because he is a secret weapon in a lot of GT AM cars at Le Mans.
So there's 2.
Renauer gold, or is he a silver as well, like twin brother Alfred
Well, he
is?
could be a platinum because he's won a championship.
Yeah, true. I don't think Robert is a platinum, but he might be a gold. There's my internet's just suddenly stopped working, but I'm going to try that again now.
Robert Renauer is a gold.
Yeah.
So he gets 3 points for being a gold.
That's 3 points for Renauer, 3 points for Robert Renauer, yes?
Yeah.
Preining is a silver.
So he gets 2 points.
Klaus Abelin's a bronze.
So he gets 1 point.
And Alex Muller, still can't tell you that. Hang on a minute. No, can't tell you that. It's not working, Paul. Car 14, I'll let you look that up. Car 14, Marcus Winkelhock, still in 6th position, but has improved through 3 of the 6 completed sectors on this lap. Somebody else to look out for, certainly Nick Tandy, who's gone quicker than anybody else in this session through the second bit of the Grand Prix Strecker, and is also improving through many sectors on the main Nordschleife lap. So this could be a very good lap as well for the man from Bedford in the UK.
Alex Muller is a gold.
Yeah.
So that gives you a total, I reckon, of 9 points for the car.
3, 6,
We're on an
9,
average
10.
of about 3 there.
Yes.
Yeah.
3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, 9.
9 divided by 4 is 2.25.
Ooh.
So therefore it should be a Pro-Am car.
There we are.
And it's as simple as that.
Well done, Paul.
And we've still got nearly 3 minutes of the session remaining. So
That's very good. Less than 2 minutes
well
it took to explain that. 3 minutes.
Next time we'll have the stopwatch on Paul to see if he can work that out a little bit, shave a little bit of time off his calculations.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about minor improvements here and there, isn't it? Little increments.
Considering the time was taken by assessing the grading of the drivers, I think I can engineer a bit of time into that. Paul.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll get the PDF file up a little bit quicker next time. Both of the Manthey Porsches still putting in the laps, and I suspect that Nick Tandy might get an extra one in. He's going to come across the line at the end of the lap that he's currently on. His previous lap was an improvement at 8 minutes 22.1. And
this is going to shave a bit more time off it as well. Christensen's gone quicker.
Quicker still, yes.
8:20.589. So the 911 numbered car was already fastest. Well, it's still there and gets now 1.5 seconds further away from the sister car Nick Tandy, which he all of a sudden is labelled as Patrick Pilet, interestingly. Well, that would make a bit more sense.
Winkelhock's put in a personal best for the 14. He's moved up to 4th.
Yes.
8:23.1.
I reckon this is Pilet. So they're giving a bit of time to Tandy. Now Patrick Pilet, who was in the winning lineup in 2018 in the number 1 car, threads his way through Hohenrhein over the lip, which is the connecting bit between the Nordschleife and the Grand Prix track. And it's an 8:22.1. No, it's an 8:22.274. Very, very close indeed to Tandy's time for Frenchman Patrick Pilet, but not quicker. That car stays second fastest.
This is what Manthey regards as race pace, isn't it? 8:22, 8:21, something like that. I mean, the times from Michael Christensen, he did an 8:22 before getting down to the 8:20. Kevin Estra did an 8:22 and then did an 8:20. So my suggestion that an 8:30 would be enough to do a record distance. As I say, if they can get clearish laps. I mean, the track is not that busy because quite a few, I suspect, have just elected not to have the morning warm-up, so they haven't had that much traffic. But it's going to be the yellow flag zones and the code 60 zones which are going to slow us down come the race.
Even more swift for Patrick Pilet on the first half of the Grand Prix track. I'd be surprised if that car goes back onto Hatzenbach to take another Nordschleife lap. Well, the option is there because we've still got 15 seconds left on the clock, so no checkered flags being displayed yet. The 14 car is going to come round and into pit lane though, so Markus Winkelhock not going to do another Nordschleife circuit. Yeah, so the fourth fastest car is in.
It's just going to come into your view, Johnny. You decide whether to turn left or right.
It's left. It's left for the more green of the Grello cars, so the number 1 car onto the Hatzenbach for one final time. Patrick Pilet, faster than he managed, or faster than that car managed, through the speed trap as well at the end of the Grand Prix track, 233 kilometres per hour, and also onto the Nordschleife for another lap, Michael Christensen. So Manthey using every bit of track time available, and I think Paul's point is a good one about just trying to tick off these laps as close to race pace as they can. And the beauty of this, doing one final lap, is that, well, I was about to say you're not going to catch much traffic, although there is an intervention vehicle at the start of the Dottinger Höhe for Martin Rackinger, and he needs to be wise of that fact heading out of the long lingering right-hander, which is so important to a good lap time. That determines your top speed down this, well, almost endless straight, the Dottinger Höhe.
He's on the run, talking about Pilet here, he's on the run down to Arenberg, down that long downhill stretch into the left-hander.
And it's an absolute best through that sector as well. Patrick Pilet
wow.
not hanging around. A 1 minute 3.668 through sector 3 of 9. And the clock is now at 0, so anybody coming out of Hohenrhein now, as Martin Rackinger is doing with the TUV Rhineland Tower to his right, underneath the BMW bridge and over the line to post a 8:24.955, and that is that car's best time in morning warm-up to put it 11th fastest.
He's through Ardenau, on towards through Metzgfeld and towards Kallenhard now. So we'll keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on his sector times as he comes through with a personal best there in sector 4. So he's gone purple in 1, yellow, which means he's not as quick as he has been in sector 2. He's gone purple, which means faster than anyone else in 3. And he's gone green in 4, which means a personal best in sector 4.
Yeah, it's a very short sector. One other car to look out for, Maxi Buch, coming through the kink now on the Dottinger Höhe. Buch in the number 3 Black Falcon Mercedes. This is the car that was spun by Lucas Stoltz during his qualifying lap last night, remember. And Luca leaving the scene on the Grand Prix track rather red-faced, although his second lap was very respectable indeed. I think this will be a good one from Buch in the number 3 AMG GT3, second fastest. So to split the two Manthey Porsches is the red and black Black Falcon car. It's at 8:21.692.
Just checking the tracker, and I think that the Patrick Pilet, isn't it, the wheel number 1 now? Patrick Pilet is going to be the last one through to check the checkered flag. So the two Manthey cars, the ones staying out the longest, will be coming through to take the checkered flag last of all.
It's gone purple in 5, guys.
Yes.
Sorry, green in 5. So he's on schedule to potentially be the quickest car out there. It's gone green in sector 6. 3 more sectors to go. He's heading towards the right-hander before the carousel.
Yeah, sector 7, almost the longest sector on the circuit, which runs from the exit of Bergwerk, sort of Kesselchen area, all the way up, as Joe was just saying, up to the carousel, out of the carousel, up to Hohe Acht, through the Wippermann, down into Brunchen, Pflanzgarten, and Sector 7 only ends when they come out of Galgenkopf. So it's a very long sector.
And it's also perhaps the trickiest part of the whole of the Nordschleife, in my view.
I've not driven as many laps as you two have on the simulator, so I can't say whether it's tricky or not, but certainly it's an area of the circuit that you can lose a lot of time on. And in terms of the time it takes to get through the sector, you're talking about 2.5 minutes. You know, that's more than a lap of Silverstone. That's just a sector.
Yeah. Nuffy is out on the Grand Prix track, which is one of the SP8T Mercedes GT4s. Black Falcon, known as Team Nuffy this year, but that's the name of the car and has been for the last couple of years. Stefan Karg currently at the wheel of car number 46, which is qualified in 43rd position.
But not fastest in SP8T.
No.
Johnny, that one, because fastest in this warm-up session in SP8T is Darren Turner. Cheer from the Aston Martin lounge behind us. Darren Turner in the number 36 car, having done 8:57.520.
Yep, so the Mercedes that I mentioned from Black Falcon taking the 8T pole position with an 8:51.266 in qualifying 2 yesterday. But the next nearest 8T car on the grid is the 37 AMR Performance Centre Vantage, Jamie Chadwick, Peter Kate and Alex Brundle. Here comes Michael Christensen then into the Hohenrhein right-left, or left-right-left chicane. Very close again to the Armco barrier, where you would normally be turning right on one of the paid-for tourist laps. Over the line goes Christensen, faster again, 8:20.146. And in any moment now, Patrick Pilet will do likewise.
He's gone through Sector 7 in 2 minutes 30.2, which is green.
Yeah,
a personal best, not quite as quick as Christensen ahead of him though. Christensen went through there 2:29.8, so fractions of a second, literally splitting these two Porsches from Manthey. So he's into the final sector of the lap, heading down the Dottinger Ho towards Tiergarten. And he's gone through there in a 20.2. Here he comes up to the final part of the lap through Tiergarten into the right-hander, then sweeping left and back down towards us. Look over our shoulder. Here he is crossing the line then. Patrick Pilet, what is his lap time going to be? It's good. He's gone quicker. In fact, he's gone quickest. An 8:18.9. That was definitely a punt at the quickest lap in warm-up there, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, it was largely on a clear circuit. I mean, there's celebrations in the Manthey garage, but put a driver out on a clear circuit. I mean, we saw what happened yesterday in top qualifying. You get into the 8:10s, but he was probably getting towards I wouldn't say a completely empty tank of fuel, but he used up, what was it, 4 laps worth of fuel on that. On that little stint, half a tank of fuel, but the tyres clearly good, and with a clear track, 8 minutes 18.9.
And the current champion goes fastest in warm-up, and the two Manthey Porsches top the sheets again.
Yes. It lays down the marker, doesn't it? I mean, whether you're a BMW fan or a Mercedes fan or an Audi fan, when you've got two Porsches at the top and they're both run by Manthey, you're going to think, right, how are we going to beat these guys?
Bizarrely, we didn't have any 8-minute 18 laps in the Super Pole last night in the top qualifying. That would have put Patrick Pilet 24th on the grid last night.
Out of 28 in the top qualifying session. Bearing in mind that the 911 actually in top qualifying did an 8:11.5, but a fuller fuel load, no doubt, on board both those Porsches as they tried to get as much running as possible. And not lengthy stints, because the priority, I think, was to cycle through as many different drivers as possible. We saw Tandy in the number 1, we saw Patrick Pilet in the number 1. Are they the drivers, maybe, that will be doing the first couple of stints for Manthey this afternoon? So number 1 now reaching the pit lane via the Grand Prix track, having done an 8:18.965. That was done by 37-year-old Frenchman
Patrick Pilet. Michael Christensen, 1.1 seconds adrift in the 911 numbered Porsche, 8:20.146. Third quickest, Maxi Boot. That was a late-ish time in the session as well, in the number 3 Black Falcon car. That car qualified in 8th place with an 8:13.6 yesterday, 8:21.6 today. 8:22.7 for Pierre Caffer in the fastest Audi in warm-up, car number 4, but right behind it, another Audi from Car Collection. So Phoenix Audi number 4, Car Collection Audi number 14, 5th fastest, an 8:23.127. Then the Fabian Schiller Mercedes, which is a Get Speed Performance entered car, number 17, 8:23.795. Ahead of the fastest BMW in warm-up, which was the number 98 car, 8:24.070. 8th fastest, the number 11 Ferrari, Glockenspiegel Team Monschau car, 8:24.206. And 9th quickest, the 99 Rover Racing BMW of John Edwards, 8:24.382. 10th quickest, the 55 Ferrari of Octane 126. And this is one of the first races that they have been in the GT3 category, Octane 126. 10th quickest, though, for Alex Prins, the 8:24.889, getting that car just into the top 10. Ahead of the Falcon Motorsports Porsche number 44, the 101 BMW from Valkenhorst, driven by Lucas Ordonez. 13th quickest, the 33 BMW, Alexandra Imperatori last to drive that. The 42 Schnitzer BMW, that would be Timo Scheider possibly, in the 42 BMW. And the 705 Frank Meyer driven SCG, which is the Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus car, an 8:26.503. That's warm-up, done and dusted on the Radio Show Limited network of channels, live from the Aston Martin Racing Lounge. But our build-up later on today starts at 2:30 local time. Ahead of, that's that countdown to green, and then the start of the race at 10 past the hour, 10 past 3, to make sure that we include all of the rolling lap ahead of the 47th edition of the ADAC 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. Join us later. Bye for now.